Hey everybody, welcome back to Hillbilly Hunting Outdoors. Today we're going to talk about picking the right tree for your right tree stand. Believe it or not, that really matters a lot. A lot of people look over that when they really shouldn't be. So stay tuned. I'm going to help you out with that. And remember, hit that like button. Please comment, because like other YouTube channels, I actually talk to y'all. When they don't, I actually talk to y'all. Please consider hitting that subscribe button so I can continue helping you and helping others. And as a group of hunters, men, ladies, children, we can all be successful together and we can all fill our freezers together. So stay tuned. You're going to like this one. All right, y'all, let's talk about picking the right tree for your stand location and how important it really is and how to go about doing that so you can be more successful. And first of all, let me apologize. It's not really blowing at this very moment, but it's a little bit windy out here. So if there is some wind throughout this video, I do apologize for that. All right, let's get started. So you've scouted your area. You found your area, like this is the area, this is where I want to hunt, this is where I need to hunt, this is where all the sign is, you know, on and on. Now you need to pick exactly where you're going to place your stand at there. The first thing you need to do is think about your sign for your deer. Where the deer bedding? Where do the deer want to be at? Where are the deer transitioning at? Because you always want the deer in front of you. You don't want them to walk behind you or right underneath you. You know, some people are like, well, I'd like them to walk right underneath me. You really don't want that. You want them to try to be out in front of you all the time. So you need to know where they're bedding, where they're transitioning, where they want to be at, and so on. Now that you got that figured out, you need to know exactly how big of a tree you need for your particular stand that you are putting up. So if you're putting up like a ladder stand, you need, like if it's a single man ladder stand, you need anywhere from like an 8-inch to like a 20-inch tree is great. If you're putting up a hang-on, you know, something like a 10 to 20-inch tree is great. Where if you're putting up a 2-man ladder stand, you need to start like at maybe probably at least 15 inches and go up to like 30 inches or so. Because what happens is, if you are not on the right size tree, and I've seen this happen, even if you had that thing strapped in there, that strap could still move. And if the tree is too small, that stand can slide around on it. Now this happened to a buddy of mine about 15 years ago. He had a 2-man on too small of a tree. He was in it hunting by himself one day, and so he kind of had his weight off to one side, and the stand slid, the strap slid and gave way, and the ladder buckled, and no, he was not wearing a safety harness, which I practice safety. Wear your safety harnesses, because we all want to go home to our family and friends. The ladder buckled, he fell out, and you know, the thing went like that. He fell out, hurt his back, and to this day he still has back surgeries because of it. So make sure you're wearing your safety. Now when I'm talking about like a 10-inch tree, a 15-inch tree, now what I mean is like the total circumference of it. Like you measure from one side to one side, you know, that's 10 inches, that's 15 inches. That's what I'm talking about. That you got to have the proper tree. And all your tree stands you buy, and the manuals and everything will tell you, you need a minimum size of this tree for it to be in. So it's there, you just got to look for it in the book. Now here's that window I was talking about right here. Again, I apologize for that. We have a lot of storms down here in South Carolina. So anyways, you got all your deer sign, you know where they're at, where they want to be at. You know what size tree you need to find. Now, once you find that size of tree, you need to find a tree that has background in it. Some type of background that will blend you in so you are not silhouetted. Now, animals, they tend to see more of a blob, but if you have no background and you're being silhouetted, even if they're seeing a blob, they know there's a human up there, and that's not good. And once they see you, they can see you from 200 yards away. Because just like you know your entire house and know everything in it, the woods is their house. They know when something's different in there, and they see that stand, they see you up in that tree silhouetted, you're done. That hunt is over. So you need to find a tree that has some kind of background. Now, I know a lot of places, especially down south, you can't find that because there's a lot of timbering going on, so there's a lot of open pines. Well, I'm going to do a video on this one. I have a signature background that I actually make myself, and I'm going to do a video on it, and I'm going to show y'all how to make it for y'all. So if you ever run into a situation where you're in an area and you're like, this is where I really want to be, this would be a perfect tree, but there's no background. Well, you can make your own background, and I'm going to do a video on it. Like I said, it's really, really easy, and it only costs like $15 to make. So don't worry about that. You know, you got to have some kind of background, but if you can't find one with background, then make it. And like I said, I'll do a video and I'll show you how to do it. So now you know where your deer are at. You want to keep them out in front of you. You know the size of tree you're at. You found a good tree with good background that will allow you to blend in and allow you to be concealed so the deer or the animals that you are pursuing do not see you. Now you need to think about wind, okay? Because I could turn this way and the deer are out in front of me, or I could walk over there and look back that way and the deer are out in front of me. So even though the deer are out in front of you, that doesn't mean that you're putting the stand in the right location for the majority of the winds that you have. So here in South Carolina, we're lucky enough, we're blessed enough to have 4.5 months of deer season. I know in the first half of the season, I primarily, 80 to 85% of the time, have some kind of south wind. In the later half of the season, because it's getting cold, the air is being pushed down from up north, I have primarily a northern wind, some type of northern wind. So I know that 80 to 85% of my entire season, I have some type of south or some type of north wind. So what I do is I set up all of my stands to face directly east or face directly west. And what that does is it gives me 80 to 85% of the time, maybe even a little bit more, that I have a good wind to hunt that stand. So think about that with your area. Start taking notes. Start every single day. It takes maybe 15 seconds to bring up the weather app and see what the wind is. And write it down every single day, and you'll learn that what the most wind directions are during your hunting season is to help you set up to have the most winds that you could hunt your stand. So, and I know talking about going east or west, whatever, some people might be like, oh, what about the sun? Well, I can tell you this, if you're facing east, which I do a lot of mine going to the east, the first hour of the morning, even though the sun's rising, the sun's not in your face at all. It's still got to crest the trees and all that. And even when it does a little bit. It's only for like 15, 20 minutes at the most. And with a hat on, you can still see perfectly fine. I've been doing it. I've been hunting for over 30 years now. I trust me on this one, please. So think about the winds. You got to do it. So you know where the deer are at. You know where they want to be at. You've picked the right size tree. You've picked a tree with good background, or you're going to make your background. You know which way to face it. You know what direction to put it in, so you can have the most available hunts. You know, with the wind. Speaking of the winds blowing once again. Now you need to think about how to access that stand. So let's say if you have to park over, because a lot of times like where you're parking at, like you don't really have a say-so in that. So if you say where you're parking at, let's say the best wind is to put your stand over here, but the deer over here, and then you're parking back here. So you'd have to literally walk past the deer. So you need to think about that also. You need to make sure your stand is in a place where you can get to it and get out of it without the deer knowing, without them ever knowing that you're even there. So, and that sometimes is a tricky part, but if you do it, I promise you, you're going to be successful. So remember to take all your deer sign, know where they're bedding at, know where they're transitioning at, know where they want to be at. Find the right size tree for your particular stand. Find a tree with good background so you get concealed and you get blended in, or make your own background. Try to put your stand in the best place for the most good wind conditions so you can hunt more and more and more. And then think about how you're going to get to your stand without bumping deer. You do all these things, then you have picked a perfect tree, a perfect stand location to hunt. And that is a huge part of the battle, because if you do those things on top of everything else you're supposed to do, you're just increasing your odds to the fullest potential that it possibly can. And these little things like this that a lot of people tend to look over can make the difference between putting a tag on a deer or going home and eating tag soup. So please do this. Please think about it big time, because if you do, I know that you will be much more successful. So I hope you learned something. I hope you liked the video. And until next time, God bless you. And remember, you always get out of it what you're willing to put in it.